Sorry for the interruption there. I had to load up Linux Mint. Actually had to install Linux Mint on this desktop site because I didn't have it running. So I had to install VM Player and Linux Mint. So what the next step is, we're going to start our Linux VM, which I already have, and then you can see I've got the terminal session open on the left-hand side. And what's going to happen is right now I have my desktop plugged into the switch, but on like port 16. I'm going to move it back over to port 4, and we're going to find that port 4 already had the one MAC address tied to it. We're going to add a second MAC address to it, so you have your Windows MAC address and you have your virtual machine's MAC address. And then we'll see what's going to happen with the sticky keys that we set up with a maximum of 1. Now you'll see we have a MAC address in here, okay, which is 1. Turn this off for a second. We're going to go into our connections. Input the information I needed to for my Alright, so as I said, we are plugged into the switch in like port number 10 or 12. We're going to plug it back in. Let's just do our port security here real quick. Show port dash security FA0/4. Oh, I forgot the interface. Sorry. Okay, so we have a MAC address already assigned to it. We're going to plug our Linux box back into port 4. Right, so let's see what happens here. We have internet access. Let's just try something different. Let's go to Bing. Haven't been there today. Okay, so Bing's up. Let's go to VMware. Open up Firefox. Make sure our network's up and running here. Currently says we have no connection. Okay, fire that back up. This will enable a second MAC address for us. Make sure we have an IP address. Okay, we're 192.168.10.1 here. Make sure we're right. Okay, this guy is 10.100. Okay, we have our sticky MAC address right here. Currently, right now, nothing is disabled. Oh, it is disabled. Secure static address aging is disabled now. Okay, port security right now it's enabled. Port status is secure and up. Violation mode is down. So what we should actually be seeing, okay, is the fact that although the Linux box here cannot go anywhere, we move it over. Just gotta wait for this to. Still waiting for the port to initialize. Just double check something here real quick, make sure we're bridging. Alright, so we want to make sure the only adapter that we're using here is our Ethernet adapter. This one. Gotta get this working before we can go any further, so hang on, I'll trouble. Alright, so now it appears we got this back up and running here. Let's make sure we can go somewhere on the internet to make sure it works. Okay, so now we know this is working. Okay. That has internet. This guy over here also has internet. And so now we're going to go over here. We're going to move our plug back into port number 4. We're going to have to give it a moment to initialize. Okay, now look, you'll see here we have a port security violation because on port number 4, we had the MAC address of the Windows machine, and now we have the MAC address of the Linux machine. We're only allowed to have one port, and as you can see, it's down. So now if I try to come over here and let's take this guy to, well, let's just take it to the Microsoft Store, see if that works. Oh, well, we're having a problem. Okay, let's go to this guy here, shopping. Okay, so now neither of the two ports or two machines are allowed to be on port number 4. So if we actually were to physically take a look at the switch, we would see that the lights for 4 are completely off. So the violation that we had put in, what would happen if there was a violation, the outcome would be to shut the port down. Now the only way to bring the port back up is to shut the port off and then bring it back on, bring it back up. So shut down, and then, which is already what it's in, and then we're going to do a no shut. Now we're probably going to end up with another violation. Okay, it brought it to up. Okay, and there's the security violation again. So as you can see now, we actually have security running on our switch. The next thing now, of course, there's nothing we can do on this one. So I'm going to have to move my cable out of port 4 and put it in a higher than my range. Okay, so we'll plug it into a different port. It's no longer in that range. Okay, and so now different ports. So now it's in port number 12. Port 12 is going to be coming up. Port 12 is not in that range for the sticky port, so we're going to be okay. And then as soon as that port initializes and turns green, we're going to be okay. But in the meantime, we need to shut down the port administratively and then bring it back up so we can use this one again. Next thing we want to do on our Linux box is to install ZenMap. And then we're going to run a scan. When it's done, we're going to run a ZenMap or an Nmap scan through the Linux box to look for our vulnerabilities. Remember before, our vulnerability when we ran it on the firewall was that HTTPS or port 443 was still open. Now ZenMap comes up. We're going to look at 192, at 168, 10.1. We're going to run an intent scan. Okay, so now our Nmap is done. We can look at the ports and hosts that it found, okay, and you can see that port port 20, 21, and 23, right, are all being filtered according to our access control list on our routers, which is what we said we wanted to have happen. Okay, so at this point here, you're going to gather your router and your switch configuration and your proof. You're going to put it all into Notepad. And the last thing that we're going to be doing in this lab is setting up the software firewall, one for the Windows PC and one for the Linux VM. Go ahead and, all right, in this part of the lab, we'll be looking at the role of a software firewall and how it's going to work within your security system. We're going to be adding a rule to our software firewalls to block traffic that is not secure. At this point, you still want to make sure that your PC is still connected to your own router, and make sure that it's connected in anywhere from port 10 on up. The port does not have any, or any port that does not have port security on it to allow multiple MAC addresses associated with, say, like port 14. Change your Windows PC to have the following IP address: 192.168.10.10, which I do believe we already have. Let's just double check. Okay, this one is 10.100, so let's move that. Make sure you click OK twice. Okay, now we're going to go to our virtual machine. We're going to make that one 11. Choose apply. Turn it back on. Verify right here that it came on. We're good to go. Right. So then on our PC, we're going to open up a terminal session, and we're going to jump onto a telnet and check to make sure that we can telnet into telehack.com. Notice the port changes to 23. Run your Star Wars command. Let it run for a little bit. Okay, and we'll see that everything works just fine. So you'll see that telnet is now allowed to run through our current firewall, right? Right. Okay. On a Linux machine, we're going to open up a command prompt. Okay, we're in one right here. And we're going to check the function of telnet. So we're going to issue the command telnet.telehack.com Star Wars, and you'll see it works from the Linux prompt as well. So now we know that the Linux firewall and the Windows firewall are not stopping anything from happening here, right? Now we're back to our regular prompt, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we're going to open up our Windows firewall for the control panel. Go to System and Security. Then we're going to go to our Windows Firewall. And we're going to, here it says, allow an app to the firewall. So we're just going to go right to our firewall. Then we're going to click on, we're going to put in a rule to block traffic. So we're going to click our advanced settings over here on the left. We're going to go to our outbound rules. You'll see we have no outbound rules. We're going to click on new rule. And we're going to click port because we want to stop a port from occurring or going out. We're going to select TCP and then specific remote ports. And then we're going to input 23. Go ahead and click next. And what do we want to do? We want to block that connection. So you see we have the button has been turned on for block that connection. And then we want to choose what domain. So go ahead and select all traffic. And we're going to call this block telnet traffic out is the name of our rule. So now we have just connected right there. Okay, see how it's blocked right there. Now let's go to our VM, right? We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to click our menu. We're going to go to our preferences. I'll just type in firewall and go there. It's easier. Okay, we're going to turn on a firewall. Okay, so we put the password in. Okay. Profile is home. Okay, so we click the rules tab. We're going to add a new rule. So it's right down here, the plus sign. Turn our firewall on first, I believe. Then we can add a rule. Firewall is disabled again. Keeps turning off the firewall. Hang on, let me figure out what's going on. All right, so it turns out just being a little impatient. So once it's on, from down here, click your plus sign, and then we're going to choose, okay, that we're going to deny in the outgoing direction for the network all the application is telnet that's a lot, okay, and then, okay, so we're going to block telnet, and then we're going to choose add, and then close. All right. Oh, looks like I did it twice. Oh, we have one for V6 also. Okay. So you can see the rules sitting there in the firewall. Okay. Now we can test our PC first. We're going to open up a new PuTTY session, or TerraTerm, whatever you're using. We're going to go to telehack. Okay. Can't connect to that host. We're going to come over here, and we're going to try to do it here as well. Once again, also cannot connect to that host. So by doing those two simple commands, you can choose to turn off or disallow certain applications to go through your firewall. Now, it's important at this case here, this point here, that you be able to go in and turn your firewall back on, okay? Or remove that rule, because me personally, I kind of like having it there. So I'm going to delete the rule and delete that one. So my rules have been deleted. Turn my firewall off altogether. Come back over here to my Windows. Right, and I'm going to delete my telnet rule there. Okay, I want to go back to make sure that I can still as you see now it's back in. So it's okay, so that's up and running. Let's go over to my Windows one. And that one works as well. Okay. So you're going to want to, before you go and you clean up your rules, you're going to want to make sure that you get a proof that you want to get proof that you did your firewalls for each. So on the Windows one, you want to left click on the Windows icon and control panel, select control panel, system security. You did that. And you want to export your list. Highlight the block telnet traffic rule. Click export list on the right hand side. Select your desktop location. Okay, and then on Linux, you're going to go to menu, preferences, firewall. Highlight the text in the window. Right click, copy the text header, and you'll be good to go. All right. So that concludes that lab. And good luck.